Water. 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 Long ago, people lived in harmony with nature. Then, everything changed with the Industrial Revolution. The only solution is getting back to our natural roots, but instead, the world made us pay for bottled water. 100 years pass, and there are still people living without fresh water throughout the globe. Although clean drinking water should be a free right to every person, we have a long way to go before we get to that point. But I believe we can save the world through water conservation. Hey everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel. Today I'd like to talk about water conservation. I know that I talk fast and there are two things that you can do to better suit your needs. One is you can access the script. I will leave that linked down below in the description box. Number two, you can actually use the little gear icon right down here and change the speed of this video to whatever speed you prefer. I really hope that you enjoyed my cheesy intro. If you're an Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, let me know down below. But anyways, this is actually a very serious topic that I'd like to talk about. I want to talk about why we need to conserve water, as well as some very easy ways that we can conserve water every single day. Most of these are completely free. If you'd like to check out more free ways to live low waste, I will leave my whole playlist linked up here. I've got several videos in that series now. So these are all going to be very easy, basic ways that you can incorporate water conservation into your daily life. They're not going to take much time, not going to take much effort, and some of them won't take any money either. A lot of these honestly will even save you money on your water bill, which is pretty cool. It's a win for you, it's a win for the environment. Saving water is incredibly important. While nearly 75% of the earth is covered in water, only about 2.5% of Earth's water is fresh and suitable for drinking. That might seem small, but even a smaller amount can actually be accessed. Only about 1% of Earth's water is fresh and easily accessible to us. A majority of fresh water is trapped in glaciers. Therefore, only about 0.007% of Earth's water is available for its more than 7 billion people. So I think that's what's crazy is a lot of people look at the planet and they're like, well, it's covered in water. Why doesn't everyone have access to clean drinking water? And that's why. That's because clean drinking water is a very small amount of the water that Earth has. And I'm not saying that because we conserve water living in privileged nations is going to solve the water crisis throughout the world, but it is going to have an effect the way that we use water and the way that we can maybe better use our resources. Not only are humans made up of about 60% of water, but we also need water to produce our food and other products. It is estimated that by 2025, just 5 years, about 1.8 billion people will live in areas with water scarcity, and an additional 2/3 of the population living in water-stressed areas. As always, I will leave all my resources linked down below. A lot of the weight should fall on corporations, it should fall on governments. It shouldn't fall on us as the individuals, but that doesn't mean we as individuals should just continue to live as frivolous and as wasteful as we are right now. I think we as individuals still need to take action because showing companies what we do and don't support changes how companies operate, as well as we set the good example for the rest of the population. If I conserve water, it encourages my husband to conserve water. If we both go to our workplaces and conserve water, that encourages all of our coworkers to conserve water as well. By one person setting the example, you can actually have a really big impact on those around you. And then the more and more and more people that start to join in and live more sustainably, the bigger impact that we can have. Again, the most important thing that we can do is to write our companies, email our companies, call our companies, vote in elections, because ultimately if corporations, governments, companies don't make big changes, change won't happen to the extent that it needs to happen. Like I said, we as individuals can make a big difference, but just because a couple of us around the world take shorter showers doesn't mean those 1.8 billion people are going to have fresh water in 5 years. So if you take anything from this, I hope that you take these tips and implement them into your life, but I also hope that you take that you need to put pressure on your governments and your companies as well. So now that we understand a little bit more about how much impact we can have as individuals and as a family, let's jump into the tips that you can use to save some water every single day. The first one is to cut out some meat or go vegan or go vegetarian. I'm not saying you gotta quit cold turkey and you've gotta go vegan right now. Maybe consider just changing one meal per day from red meat to a vegetarian meal. Maybe consider changing one whole day to be a vegetarian day throughout your week. Red meat is the biggest consumer of water, so if you can reduce red meat completely, even just a little bit, that will have a really big impact. But as well as chicken and pork also have a very big impact when it comes to water. And that is because animals, one, consume a lot of water themselves, as well as it takes an insane amount of water to water the crops that are required for those animals, because obviously those animals need to eat a lot, especially a cow, and that is why red meat has the biggest carbon footprint and the biggest water footprint. Eating vegetables takes so much less water. So if you can cut out a little bit of meat every day, a little bit of meat every week, you'll really make a big impact. Another really easy tip, and it might cost you a little bit of money up front, but switch to low flow faucet aerators. And honestly, most homes built within the last probably 10 to 20 years already have this installed. Instead of having just a regular stream of pure 100% water, it'll put some air into the pipe and it'll make the water, one, seem like it's coming out faster and make it easier to get stuff off your dishes, but also it means that it's using less water per second per minute. Similar to that is switch to a low flow shower head. Again, I'm pretty sure most shower heads these days are already like that to be more water conservative, but if your water faucet / shower head is not already like that, I really encourage you to go out and purchase a new one if you're financially able to. If you're not financially able to do any of these that require you to pay for things up front, don't stress about it. There are some other free tips later in the video, but if you are financially able, this will help you save money as well as save a lot of water. Similarly is a low flush toilet. Toilets might get expensive. This really just means that less water goes into the bowl and less water goes into the tank in the back, but there's actually a free hack I've seen on the internet. I've never done it, so don't trust my word on this, but I have seen stories of people putting like a full water bottle in their tank before the tank, while the tank is empty. So when the water fills back up into the tank, it doesn't fill nearly as much as it would because there's already being space occupied by that full water bottle. So there's a free hack to get yourself a low flow toilet. If you want to try that, I would definitely recommend looking up some tutorials on that if you're interested. Don't just take my word for it. Another free way to work around this low flow toilet thing is to just flush less. It might sound a little gross, and honestly it might feel a little gross in the beginning, not flushing so often. Every time you flush a toilet, it's anywhere from 1 to 3 gallons of water down the drain. It doesn't have to be like keep your pee in your toilet all day long, and don't keep anything nasty in there, you know what I mean. But if it's simply just before everyone goes to bed, everyone uses the toilet all at once and then just one flush instead of 3, 4, 5 flushes before bed. Also, like maybe you're just wiping off the toilet seat and throwing a piece of toilet paper in the toilet. Don't flush it if there's nothing actually in the toilet that needs to be flushed down. While that one is free, it might be a little weird, it might be a little gross. That was actually one of my weird ways that I live low waste. When you run your dishwasher or your washing machine, be sure to run it on the green setting if you have one. The green settings are great for 2 reasons. One, it will typically use water at room temperature or outdoor temperature as opposed to cooling the water down or heating the water up, which saves electricity. Also, some of these green settings, depending on your washing machine or your dishwasher, might actually use less water. Alternatively, if you typically run your washing machine or your dishwasher on like a high flow setting or extra duty, heavy duty, whatever you call it, maybe just consider switching to a normal setting or a low flow setting. Whatever your machine has, pick one of those options instead. Another tip to go right along with that is to only run loads that are completely full. Don't just run your dishwasher if only the top rack is full. Make sure both racks are full. Same with your washing machine. Don't just wash a few shirts and a few pairs of pants. Wait until it's actually full before you wash it to make sure you're maximizing the water usage. If you don't have a dishwasher, don't worry, there's some tips for you as well. If you're washing your dishes by hand, there are a few things that you can do to conserve water. The first one is just if you have 2 sinks, fill one up, plug it, use that one to use for the actual washing, and then in your next sink, fill it with clean water as well and use that for the rinsing. So this way you're not constantly running water for 10 minutes straight. You got a little bit of water in each sink to get the job done. Or if you'd rather, my personal preference when it comes to washing dishes is just running it real quick to get some water for my soap, scrub it real quick, and then a quick on-off to rinse it off. Basically what it boils down to is don't let the water run if you don't have to. If you're reaching over to put a dish in the drying rack, don't have the water running because you're not actually using it. Dan, if you're watching this, I'm talking to you. The next tip is to just not run the water in general when you're not using it. When you're actively brushing your teeth, don't run it. When you're actively shaving, don't run it. But I know a lot of women shave in the shower. So if you do so, turn the water off while you're shaving because you're not actually using the water while you're shaving. Pretty much just don't let the water run while you're not using it because that is precious resources and your money literally going down the drain with no use. The next tip is to take showers over baths, especially if you take a bath. every single day. The average shower head uses 2.5 gallons per minute, which means a 10-minute shower, which is pretty long, is only 25 gallons, but the average bath uses an average of 70 gallons. So almost 3 times more water per bath as it would be to take a shower. So if you still do want to bathe, like actually take a bath, do it, but do it less frequently, as well as see if you can repurpose the water. And what I mean is just use it to water your plants. Don't use it like anyway else. That might be gross. Maybe before you drain your bath water, take a couple buckets and scoop some water out and then use it to water your plants. Again, I got all the weird ways to live low waste here, so enjoy. The next one is to just take shorter showers. Genius. Yeah, I'm sure you've never heard of that before. But honestly, don't just stand there and contemplate life in the shower. Don't just sit there and daydream. Get in, do your business, get out. At least try to maybe shorten half your showers per week or something like that. And another weird one is to don't shower as often. I think this is one of those things that's pretty common in American society, that we need to shower every day, if not twice a day. But do you really need to shower twice a day? Do you really need to shower every day? Because honestly, especially in the winter, when you're not doing anything and you're not getting sweaty, you're not getting gross, you really don't need to shower if you think about it. Showers are meant to cleanse you, and if you're not dirty, you don't need to be cleansed. At least consider taking less showers per day. That one might be a little bit weird too, just because it's a societal thing. The next tip is to don't make more coffee than necessary, especially when it's like in a coffee pot. If you've got a Keurig, I'm shaming you because that's a lot of waste, but at least Keurigs only make 1 cup of coffee. Keurig is nice when it comes to water conservation, at least. If you're making an actual pot of coffee, don't make 12 cups of coffee if it's just you and your husband or you and your 4 coworkers drinking coffee. You don't need 12 cups of coffee, at least most people don't. So if you're gonna actually drink all the coffee, great, but don't make more coffee than necessary because then that's coffee just has to be dumped out. And that's wasted water. The next couple tips are in regards to gardening or just watering your plants in general. So the first tip in this category is to use a watering can as opposed to a hose. But this is because hoses use significantly more water than it is to just mindfully pour some water over with a watering can. Kind of similar to the tips we talked about earlier when it comes to the faucets. There's less water coming out of a watering can, so less water consumption there. So another tip is to water your plants early in the day or at night. And this reduces the amount of evaporation, especially in the summertime. I forgot about this tip myself when I started my balcony garden. And I was watering my plants like 2 or 3 times a day because they would get so wilty when I watered them at noon in July. And then I remembered, oh, all the water is evaporating before it even gets to the roots. So what I do now is once the sun is set, I water my plants so that way they have all night to soak in that water. Because even sometimes when you water them early in the morning, the water will still evaporate quicker than it would if you watered them at night. So not only is this better for your plants, but it also allows you to use less water too. I've mentioned this a couple times, and the next tip is to repurpose water. This can be anything from bath water or catching the water while your shower heats up, water from boiling noodles or boiling vegetables. My favorite personal one is to reuse water from my dehumidifier. We live in a very humid climate, so we need a dehumidifier to prevent mold in our house. So instead of just dumping that water down the drain, I save it in buckets out on my balcony and use it to water my plants. Similarly to that is to just reuse rainwater. Set some buckets out when it rains to catch some rainwater to use for later, or you can take your house plants and set them outside during the rain, and then you don't have to worry about collecting the water. They get some free water from the rain. The next tip, and I probably should have said this earlier, but oh well, is to use a dishwasher if you have it. And what I mean is if you have a dishwasher, don't be washing your dishes by hand, at least not all of them. That is because dishwashers these days are very water efficient, and especially if you use a full load, it's actually more water efficient than it would be to wash all of those dishes by hand. The next tip is to fix leaky faucets. Leaky faucets per household can waste up to 3,000 gallons of water per year. So if you have an issue with them, get them fixed. An easy way to test this with your toilet is to put a drop of food dye in there, say in the morning, come back when you get back from work, and if the dye is still there, your toilet's not leaking, but if the dye is gone, that means your toilet's leaking. And then another tip along these lines is to just make sure your faucets are turned off all the way, which can waste a ton of water. So just make sure you're really pushing your faucets all the way down. The last one, if you have a pool or a hot tub or anything of that nature, be sure to cover it up, especially in the summertime, because if you don't cover it, the chances of it evaporating, a lot of it evaporating, are very, very high, which means you'll just have to fill it later, which is a lot of water wasted. This one, especially if environmental reasons don't encourage you enough, do it for the money, because I know pools are expensive as it is, but imagine having to refill your pool every week. I'm sure that gets costly. And I hope you really liked this video. If you did, I really appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. If you have any other tips when it comes to water conservation, definitely leave them down below. And again, don't forget to check out all of my videos when it comes to living zero waste for free. That playlist will be linked down below as well. If you found this video helpful and you think it would be helpful for others, I would really appreciate if you share this video with others. It is a climate emergency. We do need to take this seriously. So the more people that start to take this issue seriously, the more people that will then be woken up to this climate emergency and hopefully be inclined to help out. So I encourage you to share this video with your friends, with your family, whether you actually share it with them or you just discuss it maybe at the dinner table or at work. The biggest thing I think we can do as citizens of the earth to help save the earth is to spread awareness of these issues as well as educate people and inspire them to make change as well. I really hope that you enjoyed my video. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend some time with me. And until next time, remember that these small changes you make have a big impact in the long run. Bye guys. That's literally the cheesiest thing in the world, but I did it. I did it. Teacher may throw this into the beginning because ultimately if each flush can be anywhere from 10 to 40 gallons, I think. Maybe I should look that up. Put that in the bloopers. It's only 1.6 gallons. What's wrong with me? The next tip, just in general, is to don't run the water. That didn't make sense, did it? The next tip in general is to just not run the water in general. So the average shower head uses 2.5 gallons per minute, right? The next one, where'd it go? So of course, not only is this better for your plants, but it also allows you to technically lose less water. Of course, don't forget to check out all of my other videos when it comes to living free waste, when it comes to living low waste for free. I can't wait to watch that back.